Welcome back, everybody, to Hxro Labs Live. I'll be your host, your hostess with the mostest. Random Task 555 on Twitter, going by RT more recently. Just kidding. It's been a while. Yeah, nice to be back solo today. It's been a while. I think I'll put my Fitbit on so that it can confirm I'm not getting any steps in for the next hour. But we are going to take a walk through the market and sift through some charts. Probably stay pretty surface level regarding the chart stuff. It's a very good year. Video. Oh. Check. Is the video blurry? It's looking good in the stream thing. Let's double check that it's on YouTube. Before we go any further, I can adjust the lights a little bit. Really bright? Less. Usually go around here. Hopefully that fixes it. If it's really blurry, I'm going to refresh my stream because it is looking blurry as shit on YouTube. I have turned off my VPN, so I'm exposed. But let's just double check everything before we get into the grease. Doot, frozen now. No, it is not just on your end. Something about the stream. Boo. Maybe we're back. I joined. Are we back? I joined and then turned off VPN. So maybe it was all left up. So I just left. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, you did not miss. I think we're good. Okay. Probably good. That might be it. Tech is weird. Okay. I don't know where we left off, so let's start again. Market's very bullish. And as you know, following the ETF approval, or really actually leading into it, I was pretty risk off in the sense that I was like culling all my shitcoin hordes and turning them into Bitcoin so that on the day I could get out in a couple of clicks and get back to cash. It just seems super obvious to me that I should be protecting capital through that event. And let's get over to the charts. And as it turns out, that very obvious thing happened where we had a very exciting event, swept it on the day, and then just hard fall off, puke, chill, puke. And then coming into some really interesting levels. And because I was so like, we're midterm cooked, like I'm not in a rush, I didn't do the thing. In a very similar bit of market structure, it's a thing that I did do here, where I got caught trying to long and, having to like average down. I got really close to liquidating in like a futures account that I did not want to see liquidated. And then ended up taking a pretty decent loss through that. Now, without that really in mind, I didn't have, a big futures account set up at the time. Point is, I wasn't really in a rush to long this, but then comes last Tuesday morning, comes along, and it had just been like straight down for how long? I mean, a little while from ultimately what's a very bullish event. It was like 12 days. So 12 days from wick to tail, Bitcoin came off 21%. So I was feeling like even if we are going to play out into some kind of, midterm cool down, which we still might, but I'm long and strong for now. But even if we were going to do something, like ending up down in these levels that, you're hearing about 32 probably being the most popular, obvious technical throwback. You're even going to hear some 20K calls from some crazies. Right now sound crazy. I don't think there's any value to a 20K call. Like there's just too many levels. There's too many things in between. Um, it's a happening year. Like just none of that makes sense. I don't think betting on that makes sense. I think, let's play it level by level. Anyways, long story short, I got long as shit last Tuesday morning because we were coming into the New York Open. We had just dumped again through sort of the Monday, and then we were just chilling Monday night, and then like into that Tuesday New York Open, we fell off hard. And I was just like, turn around Tuesday. Come on, it's my favorite play. And if you get in real close, you can see we had some bull divs forming on the hourlies through that event. So, right. So it's like 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, right before the New York Open. We dropped one last time on bull divs on the hourlies and even more bull divs on the shorter time frames. So again, I think what helped me here is because I had not been trying to long, because I had gotten out and I was in a pretty heavy cash position, like getting in here was like I was eager to do it. I was like, man, I'm underexposed to this market, which is okay because we've been going down for a bit. So this is where like market rhythm really comes into it. And I don't know if you guys have ever been like just totally out of touch with the market where, you sold a dip, you bought a rip, you sold the next dip, you bought the next rip, sometimes it's easy to get offside and it's hard to correct that. And that's why it was so important to me through this event to just kind of go with my gut, which was like, not even just my gut. I mean, there was some really sick technical levels that we came into. It was all kind of setting up perfect storm. But that enabled me to get long. So I did pick up a buttload of Solana, which I think is probably the strongest play technically too, in it for the tech, but like on a technical level. So like through that Q4 rally, Solana obviously the leader. And then really from like Christmas Eve, called that top in the pit too, by the way, half jokingly, but nailed it. Anyways, fell off hard. It's been going down for like the better part of 2 months. 29 days. What? I thought it was longer than that. 29 days? That's not that long. So 1 month felt like forever, straight down into the weekly level that when reclaimed back here, I was just thinking like that's going to be the next interesting buy area. And then it came in that Tuesday morning, same thing. Bull divs. Did it have bull divs? Maybe it was Bitcoin bull divs that I'm thinking about. I don't even think it made a new low that morning. Let's go see. Not really. I mean, yeah, it was more just like it did. It was like the RSI was just drifting up. So it's like it made its low at 4 in the morning, and then like all that morning, it was just kind of playing along this low, and like the RSI was drifting up. So same kind of thing. So getting long around 80, buying spot, getting some perp long. 4 p.m. on Tuesday, we actually had the entry if you wanted to play it a little less aggressively and say like, hey, I'm going to wait for that low. I'm going to wait for a retest of that low. I'm going to risk against that low. Like there was 2 setups there. There was the Cowboy New York kill zone Thursday or Tuesday turnaround Tuesday trade. And then there was like the more patient, like let's risk against that low. Point is, in absolute perfect harmony, we had Messi on the stream that day, which was like right around here. So through the Tuesday afternoon, which was perfect. I think we all enjoyed that breath of fresh bullishness. I think it was fortuitous indeed that I went to Miami the week before because he was supposed to come on that Thursday the week before. And had he come on that Thursday, I guarantee you would have been the same story, except we would have got really bullish right here and then puked and then been left behind. So you can thank me for that as well. We canceled the stream. We moved it to Tuesday. It was absolutely perfect. I was chatting with him that morning, just kind of like, yeah, I'm back long. So like, I don't want to hear about this bearish RT talk on stream because, I think it's important to like have strong opinions loosely held. Now, having said that, we are firmly into a bounce right now. That's what it is for now. There's, on the daily, there's no real structure to work with, as far as like, this today's actually like a pretty significant high if we can print it, and that'll be in about 6 hours. I do think we're going higher here on Solana. I'm not gonna overthink it. I've closed those longs, by the way, so I'm not like some hero that, like, nailed the perfect bottom and held it through, and I'm gonna hold it all the way. Um, I don't really like trading futures over longer periods of time. It's like almost by the end of that day, I close some, and then I close the other half a couple days later, much to the chagrin of today, because today it would be up quite a bit more. But you gotta just trade, just gotta trade your plan. And for better or worse, I'm holding less Solana than I was when I bought some that day, but I've still got a good bag. I've doubled my long-term bag, my stash, which I think it was just a good weekly place to be thinking about doing that. And while I didn't necessarily plan it all the way through that dip, when it came in that morning, I was like, damn, this is that time. Again, especially like just this weekly level was just begging for a retest, and then it all kind of made sense with Bitcoin and turnaround Tuesday. So yeah, that's good. That's what I've been focused on. Just higher time frame, larger position, swing type stuff on that dip. Have been dabbling in things like Frax. Frax looks fantastic. You can see I was drilling into lower time frames, but for all intents and purposes, it just looks really bullish. It's been a boring trade for a long time, right? It had a good run. Basically, this time last year, absolutely tore ass, and then drifted painfully slowly through a reload zone, which you can see here. W'd out, retested it, and now it's just been drifting up gradually. Then suddenly these things tend to accelerate. We've got that Frax net or whatever you call it. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't know exactly what it's called. Somebody in the chat can hit us up. But it's all the buzz, right? Their own L1. Frax has gas token? Question mark. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I just know it's really bullish. And apparently it's coming on Feb 7th. So, I feel like that's a good catalyst. I feel like this Chaos PRZ is a pay me level. But there's a huge weekly resistance, similar to the $80 sort of Solana level up here at 16, 17. So I'm not going to sell the whole position here, but that's definitely why I added to my bag in the mid nines, high nines here, because I just thought this thing's going to go and I want to be on board, and this is where I'll pay myself. And if that happens between now and the 7th, even better. And if it happens through the 7th, chaos on the catalyst day, like even better, easier trade. I got CTSI pilled by Messi. Actually, well before that stream, like, I don't know, a month before. I forget where I picked it up, but I do remember selling it around 23, and then I did have to buy it back. So I made a little money, and then after his stream, I was like, and then it was like dipping post stream, and I was like, okay, I think I can get this back. So I actually got back in pretty close to my exit, my premature exit, and I've just been adding. This is one that I've been adding to because this weekly chart just looks like it wants to book. We only just printed like the weekly W, like a big fat one, a couple weeks ago. So taking a page out of his book, going to try to hold and ride this one. I drew this up this morning. I thought that's cool. It's an extraordinarily aggressive Chaos PRZ using this entire weekly range, but that's what a bull cycle could look like IMO. And exactly how that plays out, who knows? But it's one of those things where it's like, whoa, reload zone, like a full cycle kind of thing. Just like, and then you look back 2 years later and you're like, oh man, that's CSI. And this CTSI, like, and that's so true for so many of these coins. Like, that's, if you want to use this chaos thing, like, that's kind of how I've envisioned those levels playing out. But it's impossible to say. Could just be like partners with Google, 1 year consolidation. Like, that was what HBAR did, which was pretty sweet at the time. Anyways, really like CTSI. It's slowly becoming one of my larger bags. STG had a very painful experience over the weekend. Was quite bullish on it in general. They had their V2 coming out. presumably end of Jan. It launched on Monday, so I thought that's a pretty cool catalyst, and it was. We got this fat bit of buy volume, so people are paying attention now. They needed their V2 to be live in order to do the whole layer 0 airdrop. So this is kind of like a prerequisite for that, and I think that has been slated for first half 2024. So I think it's just a matter of time until Stargate becomes cool again. It was extraordinarily cool when it launched at like 60 cents through those auctions that didn't even fill up, and then it ran to $4. It's well before this chart existed. Dropped, bottomed, whatever it was, 25 cents, 30 cents, and then it ripped up, dipped again, ripped higher, and now it's been in this long, drawn-out consolidation, just pushing through this weird trend line that doesn't mean much. But yeah, it's like reload zone within a reload zone, and then I just like it. I kind of want it back. I've been trying to trade it, picking up wherever I did here, like some 54s, getting out, small loss, like missing this little rip higher, forgetting about it for a while, and then just looking back and then seeing the V2 news coming down the pike, and I just thought, okay, this is time. Anyways, the painful part, which I just shared in the pit, see if I can pull that picture up. This is just a reminder, kids. Trading is not easy. Oh, let's go find it. So this is maybe why copy image. This might be like one of the downsides. It's definitely one of the downsides of trading on something like BingX, because you're getting like a mirror of a more liquid used exchange, right? Like there's probably a lot of actual traders on BingX, but nowhere near as many as say Binance or somewhere else where they're mirroring a lot of their liquidity. So while on Binance perpetual futures, it did trade into my levels. Definitely the first one. Anyways, this thing came down. I had a pretty fat, long bid at like 511, and it bottomed at like 512 or something. So that sucked. And then I woke up and I was like, oh no. And then it's just left me behind here. So not in this long at all, which is disappointing to say the least. But I picked up some spot. Let's see. 5081. I just want to see. I'm actually curious. 5081. Nope. Oh, so I would have only got filled on 1 out of 2. I was allowed to trade on the best exchange or the most liquid exchange, but that's just the way she goes. So yeah, that was a little bit of a kick in the what on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, really. But anyways, we're pushing higher here, and I just think midterm swing kind of thinking. This probably look back and be like the launch pad of the next move, which I anticipate will be to the upside. It'd be pretty cool if it ended somewhere around this 88 or 877 trend line, these weird toppy trend lines. I believe we got one like that on OP recently. Let's take a look at OP. Is that what happened? Am I making this shit up? Or is that real life? Yeah, a little bit made up. Or is it? I swear we had that. Well, I mean, it was the trend channel that kind of topped it for now. But anyways, yeah, it happens. Those fun little top wick trend lines can mark resistances, and the fact that they align nicely with the 88.7 tells me that's where like a mid-year mania could take us. That's where I'll be looking to get paid. And I got one chaos PRZ there. Let's try another. Just kind of in the middle there. Not that exciting. So JTO sends soon. Yeah, let's check out JTO. Guac looks pretty good. Finally having come chilled out, giving it lots of time. The more time you get like this, the better the next move usually is. Broke out a bit today, coming off a little today. Some big news coming out for Ethereum, or at least some swirly rumors about the ETF being approved sometime in May. Block reporting on that this morning. So we will, keep a close eye on the ETH BTC cross. Sort of waking up right now. Yeah, JTO looking good. W here, retest, breakout, reload zone. Pretty standard. Price action if you're a trader. If you're a fib bro, Some of these charts are just so fun to chart and not necessarily easy to trade, but yeah, break out, chill out, wait for the reload zone, and then it even gave us a W and a retest of that, and now it's ripping and another W. So yeah, JTO looks like it wants to rip. I guess there is a pretty large catalyst coming out here soon here, with Jupiter, which I qualified for. That's exciting. SEC likely to approve spot Ethereum ETFs on May 23rd, according to Standard Chartered Bank. So there's commentary that it's likely to happen in May, which I think just kind of opened people's eyes to the timeline of this, right? There's been really no talk about it since the application of it. It's a lot about the Bitcoin ETF, obviously in January, and then talks of the Flow Watcher. By the way, if you don't mind, Monsieur Producer, since you're producing tweets here today in the chat, if you could just find me the latest on the flows. I was looking at a good tweet. I forget the guy's name. I follow him, the guy that just does all the best flow tweeting. Be nice to take a look at the flows. We're in the green though. ETH BTC reversing today on that news, or at least showing a green candle. So after that strong weekly plunge higher, we had a strong weekly dip. Is that all we're going to get? We retesting these lows? Yeah, Eric Balchunks. Yeah, that's the guy. This looks really good if you're an ETH bro. I'm not really an ETH bro. I know I kind of am. I still hold, my main shit on my ETH wallet. I just feel like it's more secure. I haven't fully transitioned to like Solbro in practice, even though I hold much more Solana, and I'm definitely more bullish on the Solana eco. I'm in a weird place, and I think, I don't know. I just can't really wrap my head around ETH tech winning out in the long term as much as like an ocean of L2s all working together, which is really cool, by the way. Great job, devs. But does that make ETH the kind of coin I want to be like sitting in long term, as much as like something with maybe a little more sauce, a little more upside, a little less horizontal dilution across L2 value? These are the questions that keep me up at night. So for now, this is a sick, picturesque bit of price action in the sense that it, came through this low, swept it out over a period of about 12 hours or 8 hours, and then just went that was through the Bitcoin ETF approval. And then obviously some kind of retest had to come in. And now today, the rumors of the ETF, the ETH thing. So is it happening, or is it just more noise and we're just stuck in this forever range? That is Ethereum trading. ETH BTC cross trading at the exact same price it did in May of 3 years ago. So I don't know. I think there's more exciting trades out there, but it depends on your bag size. I think whales will appreciate the gains that ETH and Bitcoin and Solana things can produce more than, say, little fishies and dolphins that maybe want to like grab some 100 mil market cap type stuff like we talked about on stream last week. So yeah, Sui's in price discovery soon. I was taking a look at APT. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to take a look at APT. I still feel like they're merged in people's minds. I mean, they're certainly merged in my mind. They were the bear market kind of launch buddies, two hyped up L1s that were coming out both kind of through the bear. Sui is ripping. I guess we should start there. It's not really fair to go straight to APT. Sui is ripping, giving no chance to anyone like myself who likes to look for W's with a right, higher, low, and everything. Just a total scam pump, straight off a lower low. So pretty sweet rip there. The latest high, well, I guess except for today's candle, but the latest high up, the latest push higher came on the highest volume. So I don't think this thing's done yet. Typically, we want to see the biggest high or the last high coming in on reduced volume. Those volume divergences are powerful. This one, the volume just keeps going higher. So my bet is that the price will midterm continue higher for a bit here. No signs of stopping, in other words. Now, what is interesting, APT poking through. This was under the trend line last night when I looked. I just threw this on for fun. It's not drawn very well. You see how I attach it to a wick here. but then just randomly cut through everything. That's bullshit. You're not supposed to do that. So it should be like wick high to wick high to be official or correct, or candle body high to candle body high, and then extend. Got to get this right. Yeah, that's a little more accurate. When no one's watching, my TA is sometimes lazy, but that's a more accurate one. It's a daily candle body high trend line. We are pushing through it. That does not mean it's broken. All right, we could close today's candle red, and then it would look like a total piece of shit. So typically the rule is, as you all know, if you watch this channel, is to get up through it and then print a W on the other side, some kind of W on the other side. So otherwise it's just like a little downtrend. Point is, I just think there's a really good echo trade here. If Sui is going to capture a lot of attention, everyone's going to go like, what's like Sui? I don't even know if they're that similar. Couldn't tell you. Move is move language. One of them is move. I hear move. And yeah, it just looks ready to go, doesn't it? So through the reload zone, this one's setting up much more helpfully than Sui. Sui just kind of went like, hey, I'm shit. Oh, look at me, I'm Moon. Like there was no real chance to get in there other than just aping blindly. Not any setup that I have. Of course, I never ape blindly. Sometimes I do. Ill-advised behavior rewarded in the bull markets. Anyways, yeah, right off the 88.6, the classic gunny level. I think more accurately in the TRI terminology, the shark Toshi level. But Gunny goes on and on about the 88.6. He loves it. He's like, if any kind of project can pump that hard, rip down to the 88.6, and they're still building and doing all that stuff, like that's a really max value area to just pick things up midterm. He would have been pleased if he did that to Aptos, and this consolidation just looks ready to rip. Now, what kind of rip can we expect? Let's see what a fib extension would look like. Fib extension would take it up to some pretty reasonable levels here, sweeping off some liquidity on these kinds of things. So, $15, not quite a double, but pretty sweet. And then if that all turns out to happen, we could even pull some chaos from here, get a little juicier. We want to get a little more aggressive. Ultimately, you can see I have this fib extension. I don't know if I like that anymore. Like with the depth of this, not to say it can't go that high. It's just like, I don't know how much, fib extensions for me are usually more for like ABC continuations where you just go like this. The fact that it just went like parabolic and has had like a full little bear market now, like I don't know how much I love that fib extension measuring, from here to here. That makes sense. So that's an old thing. I'll probably just take that off at this point. I feel like we're just coming in with new sauce. We got new sauce, boss. So we need to think a little deeper about that. But yeah, I like APT because of Sui. That's the headline of that whole rant, that little segment. I don't have any. So it's a perfect storm of I thought it should go up. I didn't buy any. Therefore, it will moon. But I might pick some up after this stream. I don't know. I was thinking about it this morning, so I haven't got around to it. Been a while since I've been on the video. Hey, RT. Hey, Jordan. Welcome back, dude. Been a while. Good to see you back. Ave looks interesting. Let's take a look. Sui 786 extension. I think it's top. Sui top. Yeah. Hey, if Sui tops right now, that would somewhat defeat this. I mean, look, at some point, I got to figure APT is going to have a rip. Is it from here because of Sui? Is it from somewhere else because of something else? Could I do a little more research and check for catalysts on APT specifically? Probably. Should do that. But I haven't yet. So, ETH stuff's catching a bid today, but it's not a good bid. This, the thing in bull markets, guys like me can get caught undersized, let's say, after continuations, because sometimes what I see here is an M, like a big fat, like failed to go higher and then broke lower. And if that's the case, all my emotions aside and all my longer term bullishness aside, because this stream was headline long and strong, which I am. But like if I see a fat M in the market like this, I typically, if I was going to take the next trade, it's like that trade becomes this short. However, looking back through history in strong bullish trends, you can see a lot of cases like where this happens and then it comes up here, sure thing, but then they just get blasted and they go higher. So on the whole, I'm not really looking for um oh my gosh. Okay, I'm getting a message from somebody about some random shit that I don't want to talk about right now. Hold on. How do I close that app? God. Bonk. Bye. By the way, my 2-year-old has started talking a lot, and he's got this sassy thing he says where randomly you're just like, "You wanna go outside?" He's like, "Okay." And he just like some game show host. He's like, "Okay, okay." And he's trying on that sound, and it's absolutely hilarious. So, if you hear me say that ever in that way, that's why my 2-year-old is influencing me. Okay. It's very adorable. Okay. Okay, let's continue. I've closed that messaging app, I think. Sometimes you close it and then it's still alive in your little taskbar, and it's like, "Yo, bro, X should be enough." BTC goes lower and alts go higher. This is in 1 to 2 months. Do you kinda see that same? Drew Pullen is asking, he's saying, "I think BTC's time to chill out and alts can have a rip." So in other words, he's betting on Bitcoin dominance. That's a Bitcoin dominance comment. Yeah, well, look, let's see here. We have major resistance in Bitcoin dominance, which again, nobody trades directly on Bitcoin dominance. It's not like you can buy like long and short, although this is mostly an inverse of ETH BTC and a bunch of other large caps. So typically, if you dig deep enough, you can find that this resistance is some support on the other one. So we're going to get past the whole thing about the absurdity of charting Bitcoin dominance because, believe it or not, folks, it works. And I'll just make that disclaimer before I chart Bitcoin dominance. I think it works. I like it. Some people think it's stupid, and they don't have to chart it. They can make money in so many other ways. Anyways, these are some big weekly levels I have drawn up. I wish these bands were all the exact same size. That would be more satisfying, but they're not. It's a little closer. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. This fat rejection. So same kind of thing, right? Where you're thinking about M's. This is exactly what I just said on OP, isn't it? Where the trade, if you were going to think about one, is like take that M, wait for that retest, get short. In other words, this probably would have been the equivalent of like swapping your Bitcoin for ETH somewhere through the ETF approval, which thus far has been a winning trade if you did it up here on the day, or let's look at the inverse of that down here on the day. And all things point to M top in Bitcoin dominance, test the highs, rejection, hard rejection. I mean, really sick looking candle there. And that's a weekly candle. So stronger signals on higher time frames. And now just a little fart upwards. And yes, I think that makes a lot of sense, Drew Pullen. By my analysis, if you're saying, I think Bitcoin can relax, this is not versus USD, just versus other alts, and all the rest of the alts can play catch up. ETH has a lot of catching up to do. It's almost become this like cursed coin where every time it rallies, it's the market top. It's kind of like, some meta that has been discussed. It's like, oh, careful. He's having a good day. Hold on to your butts. And ETH is having a relatively good day. After that rumor swirling this morning around New York Open, of course, and then it's just like, hello, my name's Ethereum. I'm here to join the party. Likewise, Bitcoin hasn't moved today. So it is an ETH BTC catch-up trade. And Solana has not moved today since the New York Open. So Solana had a very good day yesterday. That was the trade. Again, this New York kill zone, sitting down at the computer around 8:30 in the morning Eastern and kind of paying attention, like really interesting pivots coming in through those levels. Not much of a pivot today. Today's been a very sideways morning so far. But some of my best trades, I mean, that was the Monday open, kind of puking into the open, getting everyone feeling like nice and bearish after a little bit of a Sunday afternoon dip, and then just ripping your face off if you're trying to be a bear. Don't be a bear right now. I don't think. Same kind of thing. Monday, terrible. Tuesday, turnaround right at the New York Open. The bulls are back. So it is a time to pay attention. NYKZ for the win, baby. It's been a good time for me. Like, my kid goes to daycare at 9. He needs to be leave at like 8:45. It's not the time of the season where I'm trying to make that trip. That's a nanny trip right now because for a little while I was driving him because I get back home 9:15, don't really care, and now it's like, nah, Papa's got to work. Papa's got to work at 8:30 latest. Just so you can see these kinds of ideas coming in and start measuring some risk and saying like, hey, if we catch the New York Open trade, maybe it was the 618, whatever. There could be a good trade there. And then, of course, that trade plays out pretty quickly. Sometimes between like 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., there's your trade. It was done. And then it's like the rest of the day is just like pretty boring. So, yeah, I've been enjoying that opening sesh for the day. If Ethereum really does play catch up here, and I don't think it's a cursed coin. Like I do think there's just like this L2 horizontal dilution. I don't believe in this idea that every time it rallies, it has to mark the top. Right now, I wouldn't even call it really rallying right now. It's still at, you know, still at a pretty shit level. It's like certainly not like if it was a cursed coin and every time it breaks out and does something crazy, we should be concerned. That was here, turned out to be true for a bit. Right now, it's just noise. Like the hourly looks cool, but still just chilling in this channel right now. So not a lot of significant movement from Ethereum today, but it is interesting to see the level play out. I'm still having a hard time believing that ETH is where I want to park like long-term capital versus something like Solana, handful of other L1 names, like just a little more upside. Still probably, for me to be like, hey, I'm going to hold this long term, and when I say long term, I'm thinking like 2 years, 1 to 4 years. Of course, so many things can change in that time, but it's like the only question I ask myself is like, will this thing be around in 5 years? And if the answer is almost certainly yes, then it's like something I can hold for the long term. And again, that long term being like cycle 2, 3, 4 years. Does that make sense? So yeah, ETH, pet rock, probably really cool. Probably going to be much higher in price at some point. I just don't know that it's the horse I would pick anymore. I still have some. It's one of my bigger holdings, so I'm a LARP right now. But I've been having my doubts. I'm going to let it play out here through this ETF noise. If it can't catch up, outperform, and do great things during this, then I'm convinced its time has come to an end. Not to say like it's going to zero, but don't shoot me. I just mean like it's not the trade I want anymore. Boring. And because if that was to happen, let's be real. If there was to be a paradigm shift and we get into Solana, Tari's another L1 I'm really hyped about coming this year. I think that thing's gonna be in that conversation within 3 years. And Sui's ripping higher. Like there's so many L1s. If we do get into a scenario, which is what I think we're headed to, where there's just an ocean of L1s, lots of utility, and lots of them, a couple of them develop killer dApps. DSO's L1, is probably my favorite. That Ethereum trade, that boredom that we're already feeling in Ethereum and have been for a while, relative performance boredom. There's going to be some people that stay on that boat for a long time, right? There's going to be some survivors that stick around on that sinking ship or whatever you want to call it. Because again, I'm not suggesting I think it goes to zero. It's a silly thought, but just like kind of stops being cool. Just spends most of its life getting caught up on in the race, that's probably my base case for ETH. It was like a cool thing, and it was just the first, and it's just not going to maintain its dominance. So Having said that, it's probably just about to reverse a midterm swing here. Fucking rip. Love a good old hedged take. You see that? See what I did there? Can't be wrong if I say two things that are inverse. How does the volume correlate with price? TIA creeping up higher, but volume drops on the weekly. Okay, let's take a look at TIA. TIA is one. Admittedly, have not done the deep dive myself on the research. Just know that pretty much every smart person I like and listen to just loves it. To me, it just I want to see what it does when it has a downtrend. When I see an asset that has never trended down before, it just makes me uncomfortable. I bought and sold a bunch of this, had a good trade in there or two, had a free position at one point, then I sold that too. When it came into a big old level. So I don't have any TIA right now. I think staking TIA is setting people up for some airdrops, which could be very juicy. I wonder if in that time, the net drawdown from some kind of high, and most people typically buy the highs, right? Like when you see a big chart, you say, where'd most of the people buy? It's usually somewhere in the top area. So I wonder if there's like that washout trade coming. And then I kind of joked the other day saying like, hey, when it hits a reload zone, which it will from some level, that reload zone might be $16. Like how high would it have to go for that to be the case? So if it rips to $50, then that reload zone is pretty much where it is now. And then, but at least I'll be buying, according to my rules, like, right. So it could be that whatever that looks like when it hits the reload zone from some level. I kind of joked, but I'm sort of dead serious. Is I think wait for that 21-day mark from that reload zone entry. So it hits the reload zone. That's usually even people who don't look at fibs. It's just an area where human emotion starts to really creep in, take over. 21-day unlock, staked panicors, puke, and then that marks your low. And then that's probably where I become a TIA bro. And that's from wherever, whenever. Like maybe I'm buying 40, maybe I'm buying 7, maybe I'm buying somewhere in the middle of those two numbers. But I'm buying that stake panic puke. And I'm missing some airdrops, and that's okay. So that's my thoughts on TIA. Gartner hype cycle, new tech, new coin comes out, rips higher, goes through the troughing phase, goes higher. That's just the kind of thing that happens almost every single time. So, one example we saw on stream today was APT kind of heading through. So this would be like, probably some people around here that were like, APT is never going down again. Although that was in a bear market. So, lots of examples of this. AVAX had a really good example of this. Same kind of thing, right? Comes out, best thing since sliced bread, rips to $60, and then the reload zone. Nobody wants it anymore. Ooh, picks them up, rips to 120. So, yeah, I need this of some kind to happen to TIA before I join in. We don't know what it's going to do on the downside, but it will test. It's going to test the bears. It's going to test the bulls at some point. It just will. It's an asset. I love when people say like, no, it won't. Like, they get mad. They say, oh, you're just coping because you don't have any. Like, that's okay. I don't need to marry this asset. I'm not trying to bear post your bags, bruv. It is trending higher. So there's that. It's just, I got rules. I'm long and strong on this market. This one I just traded in and out of, and I really do love the story though. Like I really want to get a big bag and stake it for airdrops. I'm just not going to buy it up here or down here, whatever it looks like in a while. So creeping up higher, volume drops on weekly. Yeah, let's take a look. I mean, you asked the question about volume. It is waning. It's another piece of this analysis that kind of makes me wonder. Sick weekly close, by the way. Let's hand that one to the bulls. That's a really nice one. We saw that across the board on a number of stronger pairs, Solana, Bitcoin, green closes, I believe. ETH, not so much. But there's less and less buy interest up here. And so, you know, that is a very good hint. Now, that's not to say if I was, buying from here, maybe I'm in a free position now, it's staked. Like, do I try to trade this? Do I try to overtrade this and say, like, I'm going to sell here? There's no sell signal here at all. There's like caution, like, hey, look, the bears are or the bulls are less excited up here, right? There's less buying on every new high. That's a caution signal, but I don't really see much reason to be like unstaking a free position to sell it. That's silly. The idea is to get a free position to stake it, then it's like risk free. If you really wanted to play the bear here, which I like to do to just trigger people, you could say we had a high, a lower high, and then a breakdown, and now we're coming up to do that sort of short reload zone test. I know the headline said long and strong, but that is a setup. So there's that. I'm just not in the mood to short. Here's why. Look at the SPX, big Papa indice, ripping into price discovery. Doesn't look like much because it's a weekly and it's indices and they're boring, but these are significant things that are happening on the world stage. Largest pools of assets in the world, SPX, NASDAQ, even the DJI, Dow Jones Industrial, all in price discovery. It's an election year. There's an FOMC on Wednesday. Are they going to cut rates? Is the market overpricing in such rate cuts? Who knows? All I know is that I didn't get to where I am today by being smarmy and shorting fucking bull trends. So I'm going to stay long and strong. I'm going to rotate game hard through different hot balls of money. I'm going to try to get ahead of a few narratives like programmable privacy, Tari, like decentralized social, DeSo. What other cool narratives are there? Anyways, if ETH rips here, like if ETH does play the catch-up trade, like keep an eye out for LSDFi and all those things coming back. I've got some short lists on those elsewhere. So we'll definitely talk about those on a stream. If this bounce persists, if this ends up being a retest of the low and we get some significance out of ETH, then it'll be the water down into like, or the trickle down economics into other things. Let's see what the Dixie's doing. Oh my God, 5 green weeks in a row. Who cares? Gold chilling. And, can't forget about Amazon. Anyways, the point is indices are all in price discovery. It's not a time to be thinking about how to short the market. IMO. Always nice to take profit, pay yourself, sit in cash, wait for the next opportunity. I did lots of that through the start of January. And I'm now just looking to redeploy. Fear and greed. It's not super opportune right now. It dipped all the way just below neutral. I don't think it was fear down there. But it was approaching fear in that quick little drop. This thing takes a little while. It's a slow mover, right? So if you get like a fat dunk in Bitcoin one night, it's not going to like rescore to like extreme fear, right? So that little fall off we had didn't really amount to much on the it almost looks like a pump chaser zone. It really is like a fear reload zone. I mean, that was September 11th, and printed on September 12th. Y'all remember that? That was the dip below the range back in September, but it was daily bull divs on Bitcoin, and that really marked the low right here. That really was a sweet, and that was I don't know if that was extreme fear at 30 or just fear, but I don't think it was extreme, but it might have been. Anyways, it only lasted for a day. It ripped back up. And now it's almost like we had some fun, fear and greed. We never really got to extreme. Actually, I think maybe one day. Anyways, now it's like reload zone and go. So if you want to be technical analysis on the fear and greed, and I mean, why not? Candles are just human emotion painted in candles. So you can chart them. Why not chart fear and greed, human emotions? I don't know. We should do it. Thinking about TIA is a lot of it staked for airdrops, which creates a vacuum of upside and downside because lack of liquid tokens probably gives a very nice pullback at some point. Yeah. Producer kind of agrees. I'd be curious to know what the staking stats are for TIA. Like, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, that analysis was 100% sidelinder analysis. Um, in retrospect, picking up where I did in the fives and sixes, waiting it out for my free position and then just staking it, that was the play. I ended up trading in and out of it like 3 times, made some good money. It's been one of my better traded coins for the year. Um, and now I'm just like, the big trade for me now is reload zone, sell half on a double stake, and that just might mean missing out on some airdrops, which is like not the end of the world. My main focus in life is not to like get airdrops. They're really nice. I read a really good tweet this morning. I gotta find it. Oh yeah, and then okay. I just started searching somebody's name on Google. That's not how you find it. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. I thought it was quite touching. Oh yeah, I think I did. It was a bit aggressive. It's an aggressive tweet. Yes, here we go. Okay, check this out. I really feel this in my bones. This comment from Jason, or Mr. Jason Choi. Airdrops went from rewarding early users to using, like in the Uniswap days, to being a magnet for leeches masquerading as community members. Can't really argue with that. It's gross. It's gotten pretty gross. Entitled leeches create noise on public forums to pressure teams to give out free money, and then they hop to the next project once they got what they came for. Points is the revenge plot from founders that are tired of being bullied by anons, a way to farm the leeches. Both do little to grow crypto adoption. Can't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So I thought this guy laid into the airdrop farmers pretty well today, and then also kind of like the points thing. Yeah, crypto adoption, he's absolutely right, because they're really just about drawing attention from various chains to other chains, projects to other projects. And I've said this before, like I found it interesting. I'm always kind of miffed. I'm a little miffed by things say like JTO. 2.2 billion FTV, fully diluted market cap. And then it's like, and this happened to a lot of them. I mean, 1inch was the first airdrop, is actually the only one I've ever really farmed. And I thought it didn't work. And then Christmas Eve, they were like, boom, here's an airdrop. I was like, shit, back in 2020. Yeah. How they maintain these valuations when the whole supply was given out for free, I find very interesting. I'm very curious to know what's going on behind the scenes on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just thought that was a pretty funny tweet. I lolled and then I liked it. How do we fix that? Or does it need to be fixed? I don't know. Just enjoy your airdrops, guys. Don't let me get to you. I got another messenger app. Buzzing. Quit. Bye. Okay. So anyways, I don't know where that rant came from, but I like Jason Choi's tweet. Let's check out the flows. Let's check out the flows, hoes. GDPC verse 9 cumulative flow chart. Yeah, is this the guy? But is this today? He tweeted about it today. This is the 27th. So we'll just go find this guy. We can zoom out. He's a family man. Didn't want the Chiefs to win. Don't care. Show me the flows. Wow. Yeah, I saw him tweet something this morning with like a Bloomberg. Oh man. I can find it, guys. Don't worry. I got it here in the chat app that I just closed. Ha ha ha. Anyways, let's take a look at it. I saw it this morning. Where is it? Let's stick it on a Bitcoin chart. Why not? Okay. So we have some net inflow. There's no date on this. I'm assuming it's from today because it was shared today, and it was shared by somebody who probably would have looked at it today. So we're showing a net inflow of 256 million. More outflows from GBTC, which is interesting because that's kind of like the big suck right now in this whole scenario, and like they'll run out eventually, right? So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to know that Bitcoin is moving up in the face of the big suck, and we're still getting on top of that some pretty positive net inflows. I mean, look, guys, there's just so much more money on the outside than the inside. And to me, it's kind of like physics. Um, we know that Bitcoin is a greater store of value, a better store of value than gold. That's why we're here. We are probably holding some Bitcoin or have at some point. And gold is what, $10 trillion asset class? More? What is it now? I don't even know. What is the market cap of gold? 13.79 trillion. So we've got some room to move. And interestingly enough, on that note, let's go to total. Oh, total. Total. Did I chart this on total last time? When Messi was on, we were talking about some big old. Nah, maybe it was total two. I don't even know if it was on this thing. Point is, we were charting some of this last week. Now remember that number. 13.79 trillion is gold. I feel like that's going to be the major global comparison that's made through such a bull market. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Let's look at this. Now if you look at this, so if you take the whole last bear market and grab it with a chaos PRZ, we didn't quite get there. Okay, but it's different this time. Relax, hold on, hear me out. This time you take that whole bear market, similar kind of thing. Probably want to zoom in because I didn't quite grab it. We're talking trillions here. An inch can make a big difference. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, we got to get it down here. Boom. So if that's the low and the high is perfect, that makes it 6.65. Yeah, it's only 0.05 trillion difference. But anyways, if we were to grab this whole bear market and spit it out, then we get that. So if gold's market cap is like 13.7 something, gold's market cap. Yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense. Okay, I'm closing that chat up again. I think it makes sense to end up being compared to gold. And this is just total, right? So like if total gets to 13 to match with gold, that's not even Bitcoin. That's a crazy thought. What would it be for Bitcoin to match gold's market cap? Because I think it's inevitable. I think that is sort of an inevitable comparison that will be made globally. And we're talking like in broader generational swings, like between now and 2030, now and 2035. These are all things that I think about. Guac chart earlier in the stream. Oh yeah, I did check out Guac. Earlier in the stream. It looks good. It looks good. I don't have any right now. It's too bad. I did have a free position at one point. I'm really bad at free positions. Like if I'm going to have a free position, I need to find a thing to do with it, whether that's stake or chill, and then like remove it from my portfolio. If the goal is to like ride that free position and not, because then I just see like these midterm cooked thesis, it started to break down. I was like, I'm going to sell it. And then I forget to get it back. It's the kind of thing. So, it's well below where I sold it now. So I could go grab it back, that free position, but I probably will. Probably should. But yeah, Guac looks good. I want dip, but we just had a really sweet consolidation and dip. So low time frame, it's like, yeah, give me that. But I mean, this is picture perfect, right? Low, higher low, breakout, local reload zone retest, start to rip, like pretty textbook. These are the kinds of charts that are exciting to think about. And day in and day out, they're hard to trade. It's more of an investor's perspective, but as someone who is invested in the space and plans to be and remain invested in the space, like this is how I think about stuff. So, we've gotten through our little shock, our sell a new shock, at least as I can see it. I kind of concluded this last week. that of course, there's because of course and there's just to be clear, there's always gonna be, like, greater dip wars out there. Um, Funny enough, there was some people, won't name names, and no, it wasn't you, Gizmo, the Desolator, Shorka. He's like, "You talk about me?" I'm like, "No." Um, but there was an individual that during my sell the news talk was just like, "Nah, flows, bro. There's no way." And then through the dip, and I said, "I'm buying here because it's Tuesday, turnaround Tuesday last week." And that same individual was like, "Nah, we're going lower." There, some people are just offsiders. They say, "No, we can't dip from here," and then down here they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna dip lower," and they just missed both opportunities. And that particular individual is probably just offside on the market right now in general. They're buying back through this, they're selling through that, like, they're getting a little chopped up, and that's pretty normal. And if that's you, that's okay. It happened to me too. It's happened to me a lot of times. You've got to find a way to reset. I don't think buying here is a great way to get back on side if you sold here. It's a difficult position to be in, but it's one where you probably have to wait and feel a little more pain, and then you can feel a little happier down here and get back in. Like at some point, you got to break the cycle. FOMOing in through this is just setting yourself to like repeat the cycle through that. It's really hard to get back on side. Actually, we should have a whole show, a video about like describing that phenomenon of just being terribly offside on the swings and how to reset it. It's really hard to do. It's the worst feeling in the world too, by the way, as a trader, just being offside. Like, oh my God, I'm FOMOing in. I'm so long. Oh fuck, puke this, puke, puke, puke. Oh no, buy back, 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 back. And then it's like, oh, I knew I should have stayed out. We're going to 32. It's like, when you get into that, I mean, obviously that's terrible. Don't do that. But as a trader, it's very easy to get offside. It's very hard to get back on side. I'm going to put a little thought into that. Maybe we could come up with some sort of ironclad solution where you could point at somebody, a buddy of yours, and just be like, "You sound like you're offside. You need to go do the patented RT reset." And like it would just be some process we could go through that would just get us back on the side. It's hard to do. Trying to think through. I mean, sometimes it just works itself out, right? Usually it means sitting out of a move completely, though. So in other words, it's like if you got really bearish down here and you sold, like buying back up here sets you up to stay offside if, for example, it just rips lower. So it's like you almost have to commit to missing whatever this looks like to just looks like a dude doing like a snot rocket. Like anyways, missing whatever that looks like just to commit to like buying the next dip and not be part of the rip and then getting offside. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Dragging this up. Got a pretty sweet little candle body range low situation here. Oh, ooh, fibception. Do some fib pong here. So if we are going to lose Bitcoin dominance, we talked about that earlier in the show. I think it was who was it? Pullen. Drew Pullen was asking about Bitcoin dominance. This idea of like, is Bitcoin dominance just going to drop and altcoins have a time to shine here through and maybe into the halvening, and then like Bitcoin just goes in some tear? Like that would be pretty textbook. That'd be pretty poetic. We let the GBTC stuff shake out. We let the flows settle. Equities are in a rip roaring bull. Nasdaq booming. So alts risk on environment is happening. Maybe some rate drops this week, rate cuts, FOMC. There's a lot of reasons why we could expect an alt season here or some alt outperformance, a catch-up trade, if you will, catch-up mustard. And if that's the case, then yeah, this actually looks really clean. Maybe we're getting some Bitcoin fib pong. I just really like how this candle body low lined up so perfectly with that 618. So it made me wonder, because obviously I drew that randomly. The price hasn't reached that. And I was like, man, if it did go there, where would that be to the upside? And that would be fib pong. So yeah, like, do we get something like this on Bitcoin for a period of months through March, April? Like, obviously it's not going to look just like that, but if we get that kind of thing, then alt outperformance, big mega dips for buying. Alt outperformance, big mega dips for buying. Alt outperformance, big dips for buying. right? And then the net result of this zone is Bitcoin dominance falling down to some kind of retracement level of its own, maybe just down to here, maybe all the way to the lows, whatever. And that could be what your alt season looks like, your catch up trade. So that's interesting. So yeah, if I was offside right now, I'd be in pain. I'd be uncomfortable. There's still probably some great coin setups you could look for as a trade, but like just purely on a Bitcoin Bitcoin and Solana kind of thing, I'd probably just have to just eat shit here for a little bit and wait for the next big pullback. Sucks. To solve this, one of the things I did somewhat recently is like set up a vault. In other words, a wallet. Now, eventually, I want to really secure this as like a totally different seed and send it off to some distant Swiss bank. Just kidding. But like have it like kind of out of reach physically. And then it's just like a vault wallet you send little bits into. Every time you have a big trade, 10% of it goes over there in Bitcoin or Solana, whatever. And anyways, I set that up recently. So when and if I was offside during something like this, I don't really have to care because I have bags. Now, most people have that, right? They say like, here's my untouchables, here's my like mid risk, and here's my high risk trade day to day. I didn't really have that set up. I was pretty like full in, full out of the market in some cases. And that was too emotionally draining. The stakes were too high. When you're making decisions like that, it interferes with your ability to execute, as I learned. So I've kind of circled back to like the classic, here's my long-term stash. I think it's just important not to get too big of a long-term stash because then you're tempted to trade it through like fairly aggressive swings. For example, if I had a long-term stash of Bitcoin, I would have been very tempted to offload some of it through here because it was just such an obvious kind of level to be thinking about midterm chill. So somewhere through this, I established those positions and we'll just not be selling them for a long time. But that means they have to stay small enough that I don't feel the need to ever sell them for a long time. That's the key, right? Percentage-wise, they can't be most of your port. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Not trading with size. Messi and Jedi thought 10 trillion market cap during this coming bull. Yeah, I mean, 10 trillion market cap is the big friendly round number. It's a very reasonable target. It'll be, I'm sure, a point of contention in between bulls and bears if we ever to reach that. But I think, and maybe this is me like next cycle talking or 6, 7, 8, 10 years talking, but I think it's inevitable that the comp will be made between gold market cap and value and Bitcoin market cap and value. And if Bitcoin reaches 13 trillion and it doesn't even include altcoins, whew, buddy, that seems to me like some end game scenario, like not even end game, but like target, like a reasonable midterm target for a 10 to 15 year generational asset class. I don't know how you break onto the world stage the way that we expect it will and not draw that comp and then reprice into it at some point. Like it just, that's kind of the way I'm seeing it anyways. So for all of this, I maintain that longer term bag that I just don't have to worry about. Imagine I've got 3 kids. Like imagine I get to their like 18th birthday and they're like, so wait, let me get this straight. You did nothing but stare at charts, trade, and talk about Bitcoin for, the last 25 years and you don't own any Bitcoin. Like I need to put that potential scenario to 0. So I set up a little vault. Can you please look at Pocket chaos level? Where is it? Yeah, let's take a look at Pocket. We are coming into the end here, are we? Yeah, wrapping up in a few minutes, but not yet. Let's dip into some ideas. Let's dip into some mighty fine ideas. Wow, Pocket. Yeah. So Pocket was one of those weird ones that just kind of made lower lows, and then just wrapped on there. I love those. That's usually like a dilution thing. We saw that like, if the inflation is high, that's typically like the pattern you get. So things like AVAX did the same thing. Sui did the same thing. I don't know what their inflation is, but I can tell you this right now. This is weird to do like a bottom chaos. We've well exceeded this by far by now. Interesting to see. Like sometimes it's nice to see, like, hey, does this asset respect this concept? And I'd say it does based on this. I mean, local high, local high, local high. So based on that, then you could say we're already through the higher time frame, like off the base. There's a nice consolidation. It's a little cleaner in the sense that you've got a pretty well established trend. You took a pretty decent 3-week break. Take that and extend it higher. Let's see if we're getting the respect. Kind of pipped it and pulled back. And then 35 cents would be the next area of interest. I don't have Pocket. Pocket's one that I'd like to have. It's one of those ones where it's like Tia. Like at this point, I'm not going to rip into it for any kind of investment size type thing or level. But you know, oh, that's interesting. Nice lining up here on the Yamera reload zone from where it is. Is it midterm cut? I don't know. Let's see. Is there a level there? That's a level. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a level. So what's resistance before was resistance again. Now it's like the pip perfect 618 off this high. Don't be too shocked if that's the high for Pocket for a little while. I wouldn't say I'm calling tops on it, but I'm certainly not buying it until I get this reload zone or something just like it. Messi came on stream and it was just tapping the 382 that day. And I remember saying, oh, perfect time to talk about it. For 3 days, I regretted not buying it. But generally speaking, this high time frame analysis, this thing has had a really good run. I mean, from October to like just over a week ago, it went up 1,200%. That's a 12x ish, 11x, 13x. I always get messed up. 500% is like a 4x. It's kind of confusing. It's not perfect 1-to-1 ratio like it should be. Anyways, yeah, this one I'm gonna chill on this one, but it is just trending up. It's just trending up. There's no two ways about it. It's in a strong uptrend, so ain't gonna short it. And if I had a bunch, I wouldn't sell it necessarily. But if I was in it through any part of this and I had multiples in it, I mean, I would have got my initial back by now for sure. And I probably would have paid myself a little on top of that. And then the rest, makes it a lot easier to play with. So I'll be picking some up through this reload zone if we can get it. In fact, I'm going to set alerts at this low here. So if it does end up being like a tap and grab, I'll at least know about it. 15.7. I'm going to say buy some Pocket in RLZ. There. Now, here's a funny thing. I set a lot of alerts like that have messages. Now, I put messages in all caps now because so many times, things are bullish. La, 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 la. Tia, great example, like best thing since sliced bread. And then you set these kinds of alerts down in the reload zone. I'm like picturing a Tia chart in my head. I should just go to it. But like, let's pick on Tia some more because it's so good. It's untouchable, right? It's everyone's best favorite thing. And it is probably just going to reprice insane, $50. And then my reload zone will actually just be right here where I could have bought it now. But whatever. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So if I was to say set an alert down here, wicks and tails like to get eaten. Interesting. I put those messages in because sometimes I wonder why I set the alert. I'm like, wait, what was that alert for? Just showing me that it's less than. But the sentiment in those moments is so different than it is right now, right? So right now it's like, hey, the trade's back on. Let's get long Tia, FOMO, 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 blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh man, I'd love to buy this, but I want to buy it down here. And so you set some alerts, maybe even you set some bids, but then they come and it's like, ooh, I'm so cautious right now. I've just been getting my, head shit on by the market because obviously through a dip like that, people are losing money. And then it's hard to maybe make the buys you wanted to make if that's where they get paid, whatever, on Tia. So I put those messages in all caps to myself because so many times I've set really nice alerts. They've come in. I've been a little gun shy, and I'm like sitting there. All I'm thinking about, and this is pretty normal. I think most people through these dips, you start to get really defensive, and you start thinking about like, man, I feel overexposed here. I feel overexposed there. I'm holding on to this cash. I wish I had more. Um, and then you don't deploy it. So, anyways, I put large cap messages to myself when I have like big fat by the dip type alerts. All that to say, that's why I did all caps. Do you have any alpha on the Saber DAO initiative, SBR? No, I did trade Saber last cycle. So I know the coin, I know of it. Super inflationary. I'm curious what it looks like now, zoomed out, if I recall correctly. It had a long, yeah, wow. Yeah. So I traded Saber through this, I think. It was like, hey, I suck. Wait, I'm really cool. Made some money, and then epic dump. I mean, this thing was trading for like 10 to 16 cents, and now it's like, dropped to like 10 thousandths of a cent. Woo. Don't know what this was. Looks pretty inorganic, silly. But it is parked in a reload zone. But I'd want to look into this a lot before I touched it again, just based on whatever. Like, what do you do? What are you? I mean, I'm pretty sure it was like a 4x type, hype line, buzz line. Clearly had a ton of inflation. I'd love to know how that is still these days. But I don't know much about it. So sorry, no alpha on that. Says, can you please look at the pocket? Oh, did the chaos levels? Cool. HNT Bobo. Yep. Oh, is it moving? I've been loading up on HNT this week. That was kind of like my yeah. So it's not really like I actually bought some a little bit above here at like 809. That might have been my wick. Okay. Neither here nor there. I don't trade triangles. You guys won't see too many of them on my charts. They're certainly not really setups, but I did see it kind of compressing a little bit. So I drew this on there out of interest. And I got my free position back right around here. It was just a little bit above where I sold it. So I did that thing where I got the free position, and then I saw all the puke, and I was like, I'm just going to get it in this reload zone, buy it back. That didn't happen. So I got a more local one, fib pong going on. Anyways, I got it back in. So you'll be happy to know I'm back in my free position, and then decided I wanted a trade bag. And after this breakout, now I don't love the entry here. I really don't. I like it, and Solana is outperforming, and we got the Jupe thing going. So if there's a Sol Eco rip, that's cool. But on the daily, this thing just looked good. Like it just like Solana mobile hype came, and now it's just been chilling, consolidating, getting a little greasy. I love it on a higher low from here. So I loaded up because someone was dangling like a fat ask the other day on Coinbase, and it's a pretty thin book, and I just saw it, and people were kind of biting into it a bit, and I was like, you know what? That's the bag. I'm gonna steal that. I don't have to move price. It's right there for me. So I scooped that up at like 809, I want to say. So I might have just got distributed to, but whatever. The big long that I'd like would be something more like this. And like you can ignore this triangle. I'm not, not too worried about how it plays into this triangle. I just noticed it was kind of like compressing, so I thought that was interesting. It's not even really drawn properly. If you did want to do that, probably you have to use candle body highs on both, so that'd be a little more accurate. Anyways, from this low to this high, at least a pump chaser zone. Like that actually kind of makes sense with the triangle too. So let's play out a scenario. Jupe drops their token this week, which is the plan. Isn't it? Is it this week? I don't know. I was looking at it this morning. Anyways, that could presumably be like a buy the rumor type situation brewing. Solana obviously performing quite well off of last Tuesday's low, but it's on its strongest rip really since like that Christmas rally, the Santa Claus rally. If it's going to just break higher, which on the weekly it looks like it could, or is it just going to like stall out through the Jupe thing and then consolidate a little longer? Also possible. But let's play out the scenario where it stalls. Jupuary ends, the Jupe drop comes. Much like the Arbitrum drop, it doesn't distribute through the ecosystem the way everyone wanted. There's a little cooldown, whatever. Like this is a zone where, mid sevens. I definitely want to add to my HNT position because I just think from this consolidation, broadly speaking, it's just going to trade higher. And for those who forget, when it was nothing but vaporware, HNT traded as high as $50. It's 55. I think it even traded higher. This just tracks like end of day sort of coin tracking or coin market cap. So like, yeah, year long plus consolidation breakout. That's the highs. Yeah, probably not. I feel like big consolidation here, and the longer that consolidation, the better. In fact, for fun, I was hoping it would capture the correct fib, but it didn't. Let's just switch this to chaos. Is it? Okay, let's go for fun. Let's chart my bags. It's a big consolidation. Be a sick move. So from this consolidation, chaos gets real spicy. I mean, they offer this crazy like nationwide 5G thing. I mean, if that takes off based on the price, it should. And then the knock would be like, yeah, but the service won't be as good because the hotspots. It's like, well, no, we partnered with T-Mobile nationwide, blah, blah, blah. So like the narrative is super strong. And then we've got to figure out the tokenomics. I know there was some kind of mint burn function. There's another token called mobile, something I should really dig into with a deeper bit of quantitative analysis or whatever you want to call it, figure that out. But I like HNT. I like it as like Solana darling, built on Solana, kicking ass. The main chaos from down here never got tagged. That's up at $11. The 88.7 off that is an interesting level. Really aligning with this, what would be a weekly level. Pretty big weekly level there. So, we stalled out at the first reasonable resistance. Oh, interesting. From a weekly perspective, we're looking really good. So, weekly candle body lows, weekly candle body highs. Oh, just closed above. Now we got a little green head poking out. So if we close this weekly pretty strong, I'd be feeling really good about a fairly aggressive teleportation up until this like 11 zone. And then let's talk. Because that's a lot more resistance up there before we can even think about all this queasiness. But ultimately, that's probably where we're headed through the next couple of years. So that's exciting. So mainly just wanted to say HNT's dope, Helium strong. Somebody in the chat said it, and I fully agree. HNT Boble. Bonkbot. Setting up the 5G antennas to farm MBL is pretty dope. Requires some work in real life, but you can be lucrative. Yeah, mobile. Yeah, no, I think this is a thing that can really capture like a cool story. And if I'm in the States and I can get $20 unlimited everything a month on a 5G T-Mobile network, probably going to try that out. That thing might catch fire. In which case, just the hype alone on this. I did read something that said, based on the mint burn, like this thing doesn't have to go up in price. Like it doesn't have to be tied with usage, which is an unfortunate fact. But if it can just have room for speculation, that'd be fine by me. So yeah, this weekly looks good. So the highest high did come in on the highest volume. Volume's falling off here on both sides, but that's typical of a consolidation. So, yeah. Did HNT just become my favorite bag? Maybe for a little bit for midterm swing. But in this cycle, I just absolutely love it. It's one of those ones that just built and is now launching real cool things for real people in easy to understand ways. Like, hello, sir. Instead of $90 or $150 or $250, how'd you like to pay $20? Yes, please. I think that's an easy sell. Matador is in the chat saying bot trade on HNT. Yeah, so there's probably a bot setting up some proper setups. 1 low, 2 low, 3 lows. Could be. Generally speaking, to me, it's just like Solana beta. Stalls off ripping. I'm coping a little bit, even though I bought a bunch at $80. I just feel underexposed to leverage, which is fine. And I express that copage by buying very sexy looking HNT chart, which, triangle aside, it was just like low, higher low, W, retest. Like, let's fucking go. I'm ready to be long on this coin again. Longer, that is. Didn't even talk about Say today. I don't think we have time. I got to run. We started the stream a half hour early so we could run it an extra half hour. Juke drop is tomorrow, so be aware. That could be what's driving some extra Solana juice. And it could be that it starts something special in Solana. It just could be that it's the end of this little move and we consolidate for a little while longer. I honestly don't know. I'm going to go chat with some analysts at my fund and figure it out. Figure out the best we can. But I think I would like, if we do roll over or it's like a bit, it's like low time frame sell the news, but they're like, oh, Jupe's live. And then, all shit starts to dump and you're like, it was a trap. That's probably like a bid for me on HNT. So I think we'll leave it at that. Yeah, some people think it's bearish. I don't know. Not going to make a big broad call on that. All I know is I've got dips I want to buy, coins that I found dip zones on, and we'll take a look at them. Nothing wrong with risking off into a very hyped, well-known event if you think that that's the event that's driving it. I actually don't think that for Solana. And there's certainly some drive there, but I think that dip to 80 was a sick one, and I think we're probably just going to trade to new highs, new local highs, like above 125 in the coming months. So till next time, it's been friggin' awesome hanging out with you guys. Until next time, probably Thursday, possibly next Tuesday. Whatever you do from now until then, always play from a position of strength. Take care.